So your third eye, from a Chinese medical perspective, an esoteric, traditional, classical perspective, is not 1, 2, and 3, not limited to. It's actually seeing from this perspective, and again, this is perspective so that you can open up perspectives. And if you have your third eye open, then you receive. It's actually 1, 2, and 3, and I'm pointing 3 about the elixir or the lower dantien, which is about 2 or 3 finger inches below your belly button, around that area. And that is actually your first eye, your second eye, your third eye. But they don't call that eyes. They actually call them vortices of energy, or portals, actually, called your 3 jiaos, or your sun. That's in 3 jiaos, or your sun jiao. And again, in modern Chinese traditional medicine, it's just like an organ all by itself, actually. It's an insubstantial, means you can't find it, you can't touch it, right? You can't see it like you can see your heart and your liver. So it's called an insubstantial organ. It's an organ all by itself. And it is, and I see it to be that way too. But if you go into the more esoteric classical perspective, it's actually not in order as if this is superior or this is superior, but you can argue critically from different masters of those times as far as perspectives. And interesting, these perspectives always lead you towards the center, towards the heart. That's what I always say. When you're walking as the king or queen, when you're actually crowning yourself with the 12 catharic keynotes of your completion within your DNA sequencing, if you're into that language, or if you're just thinking about you're just the emperor or the empress or the high priest or the high priestess of your living vessel, then when you crown yourself within the 7th chakra, it's illuminating all other 6. It becomes one. It becomes a vortex. And what's the center of that? Well, some may argue it's actually the solar plexus, and some may say, well, it's actually always your heart, because the heart is the earth. As far as its synergy, as in yin and yang. Your human experience is like earth is experiencing you, and you're experiencing being in an earth body, right? All of the clay and the minerals that you're created with is required with the waters and all of the energetics that is also molded with the frequencies that keeps the earth in its embodiment, in her embodiment, excuse me. And so your embodiment is the she. So it's just a funny thing about all this gender stuff, because it's just like, you might as well just say we're all just she, you know? In our human vessel. And that's why kings were crowned, because they knew that. I'm talking about like, not within our times, you know? I'm not talking about like the kings that you see during these times. I'm not talking about that. That's Monopoly. You know, those are people playing kings and queens. When you walk as one, you could care less if somebody sees you as a peasant. It doesn't matter, because you may be here in this lifeline as royalty from royal bloodlines in your ancestral lineage and astrology. You may be here to experience what it's like to be on the other aspect of living, because you need to reflect and return back to your crown all of this information. And who best to do it if not you? That's why you're the king. That's why you're the queen, because you're the one doing it. So you're here in this life, most likely, dressed, right? Living normal. Not seeking anything or anyone, but just like enjoying and observing whatever you're attracting in life. And if you're doing that intimately so, refined due to your life, then you can crown yourself. You don't even need to crown yourself. You're living as so. It's a state of being. It's a consciousness. However, a lot of people are focusing on the third eye chakra, which is giving them their actual frequency of connecting through the ethers, through the quantum field, through the frequency. Because once you activate your pineal gland, once you activate the 1, 2, 3 ajna centers, once you activate the bone of the EOP, external occipital protuberance bone, once you activate DU20, right? Once you understand sacred geometry, and once you understand, because you have your third eye open, right? Once you're able to understand how these vortices, or acupuncture points, I would like to say, so you can understand it, or the way I can know how to explain it right now, starts to activate to form the 12. If you're an artist, you could draw it. If you're an educator on it, then you'll speak about it and go in depth with it from more of a divine masculine perspective as far as an educator is concerned. I've been doing this for a long time when it came to the realm of Xing Yi Chuan as far as being an educator. I really enjoy, you're going to sound crazy, but I do enjoy speaking in the terms of a layman, because this is how I learn. actually. This is how people actually absorb. When you make it fun, when you're just speaking how you normally speak with your friends, with your dialect, I'm not interested in getting the people who are so smart that get it and they just eat it all up. That's like starting to become boring for me, because it's like they stay forever a student. You know, I'm not talking to any of you, by the way. I'm looking for the people who are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was such a thing, and they're like turned on for the first time. That turns me on. You know what I mean? On that way. Right here. All right. So using this perspective with the 3 jowls is actually one organ. So, and understanding that one organ from a layman's perspective means that you want to do the kung fu. You want to get the strong foundation first. You know, maybe you are in no so and you don't need the foundation, seriously. And maybe all you need to do is activate the third eye. The reason why you came into this earth is to experience your vessel. And this particular experience within these encrypted codecs or codes within your DNA experiences, because you were born under these parents. So yeah, you kind of like should say, I'm going to go into my old horse stance and I'm going to see what it's like to override my nervous system and reprogramming my brain when I go from a 3-minute horse stance to like a 5 or 10 minute, because my body says I can't do it. But if you override that system and do it continuously, so then, and using yin and yang theory, you override the yang, because yang means no more, no more, no more. And yang, you start to observe it graduate to yin, means complete collapse of the sympathetic nervous system. And then the parasympathetic nervous system takes an override, and then you have homeostasis again. But most people, from my experiences, don't ever experience that because they don't hold the horse stance. And why is that important? Because this is the esoteric kung fu understanding of your inner eye, your actual third eye, of seeing within. See, many people are too busy trying to understand out there already, but forgot that in this life experience, you have to master your body. For those that are receiving this message, everybody's different, and my perspectives when I speak, and I'm speaking as if I'm speaking to myself. I don't want to say I'm just because I'm a fire sign, but I'm fire, and I'm here to. I have a lot of strong emotions, so this is how I like to speak. I speak as if it's a matter of fact. But what I'm doing is I'm actually using my fire to honor it by setting flames to what I say. That's why tomorrow I may say something different. I may, because I graduated as soon as I said it. So this is how you start understanding the actual other chakra systems that connect the third eye with the heart, right? With the root, right? Well, a lot of people who are not doing the work are tapping into a lot of the gold, the nano gold elixirs, and they're going into the Egyptian studies, and they're going to the sound harmonic studies. And you have no idea, man. You're tapping into these frequencies, and they're high frequencies. I could say that they could be, they can essentially be more traumatic than lower density experiences, because lower density experiences you can actually understand. You know, I ended up in a bad neighborhood. I'm afraid, and now something bad almost happened, right? As an example, I'm aware of it, got out of it, thank goodness, and then I learned from that. But now when you're working with like high frequency communications, and you're now tapping into your meditations, and you ignore the rest of your body in a sense, and it's just common. And also I'm explaining this because this is a way as a practitioner in Chinese medicine, and the way I work in the healing arts. This is how I put things together so I can understand somebody's inner authority, so I can help them within their journey design as far as activation, because this is how I align myself to. But this is how people live in disconnection between the 7 chakra systems. So going back to this kung fu stance, when you start to self-observe how your sympathetic nervous system actually changes its insubstantial density communication frequency into the yin state, which is parasympathetic, and then the balancing of that new octave of harmonics of whatever homeostasis is in the moment from where you were before you did the horse stance. As an example, that observation right there is how you can extrapolate the inner wisdom without having to read a book. This is how you start to tap into the Akashic records. This is inner alchemy. It doesn't require metals, it doesn't require sound. It actually requires the way that your body emits sound. How the bells in your own body, how they become activated when you start to pressurize your system from a low horse stance within a low basin. So it's it's no longer for kung fu, for just becoming a strong fighter, but it's actually to inner alchemize from the Waker perspective, meaning versus the, I'm sorry, not the Waker, the Wei Dan perspective versus the Nei Dan. So the Wei Dan, which is the school of branch of Qigong, that's working on the hard aspects, which I think most people should be doing so they can understand, because this is a way of understanding as to how many systems are being overridden within the newer technologies when it comes to sound frequency, the government, DOD, a lot of things that people are not becoming self-aware of, kind of like the same technology that you would think of Bluetooth and whatnot. And this is how they're actually tapping into your biosphere, your aura. And this is why you're getting like these intrusive thoughts. This is why you can never heal. This may be the reason why like you're ascending and it's becoming harder. And yes, these are programs, but the programs become amplified through exterior forces that we're blaming the devil and demons are. But like the Wizard of Oz, if you look at the man behind the screen, most likely it's a human. And behind that human, there's an entity in the astral realm. It means that our own people are the bridges and creating a physical, substantial connection by creating the technologies so that these higher dark forces, such as archonic, reptilian forces, to be able to continue to tap in to our electromagnetic field called our aura, which is actual technology to all of these agencies that you could think of. And this is not a theory, this is actual truth. To understand how humans work in their darkest nature is unfortunately part of your human experience, so that you can see how the roots are or have been rotting here on Earth for seemingly millennia. And you came here to observe, because once you start to observe, then you can re-encode and become the coder of your experiences. And you are that mustard seed. It's beyond just having faith of the mustard seed. You're the actual living vessel, and you're the key to change this whole experience. And when not if, but when enough of us starts to do it harmonically and divinely so, this is what's actually awakening us and allowing us to shed this old garbage and nonsense and horror that has always been existing. It's not that it just started happening now, it's because of social media. They're entertaining your minds more with all of the horror. But when social media wasn't there, the horror was always there, such as the entertainment business. It was just beyond our conscious mind, and we were just living life like nothing was better. And to me, that's like even more horrible, is that you know what's happening, but you don't want to find out, right? Think about that. And now it's happening. The veil is becoming lifted, and those dark frequencies have to uproot. They have to. And that's what's happening. So that's why it's happening faster, more. And this is now most importantly for you to understand your inner journey. It's important for you to understand your inner and outer technology, your actual biology, your anatomy. And I say in a layman's way, because I don't like to go outside my understanding unless I'm going to educate whatnot. And if it's no longer fun then and exciting for me, then I don't continue. You know what I mean? It has to be soulfully connected to whatever it is that you want to specialize in as far as self-education. But when it comes to your body, you have to live and breathe. Your body's your best friend. It's actually your greatest enemy too. It's all of it. You can't just cut out your body. Well, you can. All right, but you know what I mean. So, never mind the new agey group. Never mind the jargon. Listen to this, layman. And you decide if it makes sense to you, right? So you have your third eye. Everybody's starting to get connected with the third eye. There's meditations and techniques, and everybody has these hacks, whatnot. I'm not going to say don't listen to them. You have to be in charge of your own intentions and your safety, right? And you trust yourself. And I trust that you trust yourself. So I'm not worried. But I would say that most importantly, to understand your third eye, you have to understand your first eye. So I would say esoterically from different schools, you would say your third eye is because you have 1, 2, and 3, right? But you would say that this is an actual system between your inner and outer journey. And there's an actual system behind that that you can go into like Egyptian esoteric studies or medicine, and you will go deeper into that, right? As far as the Ankh is concerned, and you will understand your inner technology, and you will understand how they use the Ankh in outer technology to extract free energy, because that was mimicked from your technology, from your inner, your actual inner vessel. So meaning that anything that Tesla created, as an example, because that was pretty awesome, like during this time, and for him to be able to do that without technology, like, you know, Google and stuff like that, he had to find things through the ethers. So he mastered that. You know, he was a master at speaking about the outer technology. I'm just as interested, but I focus my life's path with my inner technology, and I allow other people to do it. So when I intermingle the way I want to research and study them, it makes more sense about my inner journey. I always bring it back home to me, always. And every time I do it, it's because I want to bring it out to you. Otherwise, my subconscious and my conscious mind is okay with understanding it in the very layman terms, because I'm not here to understand it. I'm actually here to work with it. I'm here working lead and turning it into gold. And then now I see people saying, well, scientifically, this is how we're doing it. I'm like, oh, shoot, I've been doing it for a long time. Again, listen to the metaphor behind it, but it's not a metaphor to me. And I don't mean physical lead to gold, but frequency from lead to gold. Once you understand your body's reception system. And the only way I was able to understand it was by being the living book, not thinking I was a living book. When I was training in internal Kung Fu, Xing Yi Chuan and Bagua, early 90s, most of my life. It was always ingrained into me. Because at 13 years old, right? I was already taught how to work with and open up the third eye using certain Qigong stances like Wan Yun, Wat Na, and Sam Choi. And not just sitting exercises, but knowing the differences between sitting and activating. And I was already responsible for my own body, because as I was being trained into opening and activating my third eye, I was always understanding. And it was also taught to me too, but it made sense to me. It would have made sense to me if they didn't teach it, for me to be able to, well, with what I'm about to explain, that there is no separation between your third eye and your first eye and your second eye. But using this school of thought is that your first eye is actually an actual spear that would essentially connect anatomically your root, your sacral, and your solar plexus chakras. If you think of all of that as one big orb, that's your first dantien, or your first elixir, or energy elixir, right? That's your first eye. That's actually the eye that actually creates, in many schools of thoughts in Chinese medicine, that creates your actual brain. So like the brain is actually a receiver from the first mind, from Mother Earth. It's also a receiver from the ethers, but there's no separation because we're the hybrids. We're the mitochondria of Mother Earth. We are the ones that are part of the cellular structure of the larger aspect of seeing Mother Earth as an entity, as if we're so separate from her. But we think that we are separate from her. And this is how we're evolving, like spoiled little bratty children, saying that we're so different, and then we become elders, then we come back home, and we just say, oh man, I get it. You know? So as you start to train the somatic side of yourself, and you start to connect your first eye, which is again your lower dantien, which consists of your legs, your hips, your butt, your pelvis, your coccyx, your sacrum, right? Even your lower back, even from your belly button down, your kidneys, your intestines, your colon, right? Your hepatic portal vein, you know, your appendix, yada yada yada. All of that, your genetic, the genetic organs, or the genetic reproductive system, all of that energetically as one field is actually considered your first eye. And then you have your third eye. And the home is the heart, which navigates above and below. As above, so below. And this is the microcosm. So in my personal understanding is that I wouldn't put energy into my heart. I allow my heart to just be by honoring her, because she is perfect as she is. She's here trying to modify constantly the arguing children, the kind of like the false twin flames, because the twin flames are actually the contrast between heaven and below you, heaven and hell, which is your lower jowl, right? And once you master above and below, and you start to understand your vertebrae, 33 paired vertebrae, Christ died at 33, particularly so. And if you look at the number 33, anyway, that's a whole different, that's a rabbit hole. But 33 means so much. It means the Trinity, reflecting and contrasting, divine masculine, divine feminine, completion on both aspects. And 3-3, it opens up the portal to completeness, because not that it opens up, but it completes. The 3-3 rested on the seventh day, right? 3 plus 3 is 6. It's like finally God made the world in 6 days, on a seventh day rest, because it means that after the 6, then 7 opens up to 8, which 8 means infinity. 7 is the portal to 8. It's almost like saying like the astral realm is the portal to the higher frequency realms, right? And the 3D realm is the most palpable, substantial aspects, and the most densest aspects of your human experience, being a spirit. And once you see no separation between your first dantien, your second dantien, and your third, this opens up now your meditation, your qigong. Hopefully you're doing qigong or yoga and whatnot. If you're not, DM me. I do offer online classes. Could talk about money and all that on a sliding scale. I don't have set rates for that. I could tell you my rates, but if money's an issue, just reach out to me, as far as that's concerned. So master your first eye. Allow your second eye, your heart, to be the portal to open up to your third eye. I wouldn't be so quick to opening up your third eye all the time, except for understanding that there's a process between the first, second, and third. And once you honor it, at least in that aspect, then you will see the ups and downs, the ins and outs, and you will activate something new that's beyond me being able to speak within a video. We would have to speak in a different form of conversation within our astral or even higher. I hope that made sense. I just want to give perspective on the third eye, because everybody's talking about their third eye, and it's crazy out there, because I want to bring back together for what I was saying. If you're doing that and tapping into your third eye and you really don't know what you're doing, and you're opening up new portals, which you will, because you're that powerful, you have no idea how these other forces, human and humanoid and higher entity forces, they will know that you're doing it, because you don't know your first eye. Because what protects you is everything coming from your first eye within your human vessel. You have your spirit team, and you have the spirits and the guys that protect you in the higher. But this explains like a lot of the spiritual psychosis. A lot of people who go into too many fasts. This does explain spiritual psychosis. It's neither good or bad or ugly. Everybody has their experiences. But the more you keep exiting out of your body, if you're a master at exiting your body, like as far as astral traveling, and you're doing it a little bit too much, you are actually like changing the programming between your physical body's experience that you were supposed to experience the same. You were supposed to bring it here, the same, all of that information. But the more you start falling in love with what it's like to be out of your body, and you didn't actually graduate from the experiences yet, it's not that hard for other entities and forces to start invading your body and start tapping into your biosphere. And that's when you start, it can open up. It can open up to all kinds of spiritual invasions and attacks. And this is definitely not to scare you, because if you live out of fear of what I just said, then don't even bother. Seriously, it's just like we're talking about graduating from that. And again, working with your first eye is where you graduate from all of that, because the third eye becomes. It's not a technique. Meditation is not a technique. You arrive. Meditation is the state of arrival. Thank you for listening.